Day 1 saw contestants making their way from their respective points of origin to a predetermined waypoint just outside Hole in the Wall in the Transkei. For the first time in 6 years, all contestants arrived before the cut-off time of 4 o'clock.
Jessica and Adi had to entertain themselves at the meeting point from 11 o'clock. So it was with great enthusiasm that the first team was welcomed, as they arrived just after 12 o'clock. Adi wasted no time in getting her interview with our first arrival, Dion and Jackie.
Okay, julle is die eerste mense wat ingekom het vir die Defender Trophy 2009.
Ons span is Team Geduza. Ons mooi stickertjie op agterop wat sê the side up. Kieslike blinkkant bo. Ek's Dion.
Jackie.
Little did Dion and Jackie know that their vehicle would be soon utilised as a stage for the local gospel group, who entertained us while waiting for more teams to arrive. Slowly but surely the teams started to arrive, and there were ample opportunity for old trophy friendships to be quickly renewed, and the defenders were looking good. As it was time for the local school children to head home, Adi was frantically trying to organise interviews with the now rapidly arriving teams.
From the UK. Why I'm here is because the challenge is here and we need to do the challenge. We need to win the challenge.
And your name?
Dave Barrow.
So now they call me Nif Taliban the Kader. So we now have a team which is called Taliban, and we actually have a Joel.
Yeah, actually we couldn't find a more fitting name.
Yeah, and as you can see, we look the part as well.
Ons gaan vir hom en ons gaan ook net op die geniet op die vir die dag. Land Rover is die wenner. Adventure freaks.
As Adi finished interviewing the teams, they one by one started the relatively short drive to our camp for the evening. Although the camp was less than a kilometre away, it would take contestants anything between 45 minutes to an hour to cover this distance. After arriving at camp, no time was wasted in trying out all those new toys and gadgets especially acquired for the trophy, and of course set up camp. After the signature of the dreaded indemnities, it was time for Gerard's big welcoming speech, apparently 11 months in the making.
I'd just like to welcome you here. Welcome to Defender Trophy Transkei 2009. I think there's been a lot of anticipation for the event after the success of Zululand last year.
Now at last it was time to relax and take in the beautiful views of the hole in the wall, with some contestants even attempting some fly fishing in the river mouth. As the sun started to set, we headed back to camp in anticipation of some good old-fashioned Bosveld cooking, as only Gerard and his team can provide, before ensuring enough sleep, as tomorrow is guaranteed to be tough. Day 2 of Defender Trophy 2009 started with probably the most beautiful sunrise we have ever witnessed. After spending quite some time on the beach in absolute awe, it was time to head back to camp and get ready for the day, but not without first getting a proper Defender Trophy breakfast.
Day 2 of Defender Trophy 2009 would take contestants on a circular route through some of the most beautiful scenery the Transkei has to offer, with some interesting and surprising obstacles planned.
As the objective of the day was teamwork, the teams had to figure out how to get all the vehicles through an obstacle whilst scoring the highest possible marks, keeping in mind that severe penalties were handed down for any rollback or second attempts. Rob, Jean and Dion's team made sure they scored maximum points by taking Dion's Defender through the easy route. And with an anchor in place, Rob and Jean could tackle the seemingly impossible section, thereby ensuring almost maximum points for their team. As we head on to the next obstacle, it is clear that the next team will be following a very similar strategy. Next up, teams had to work their way down a relatively steep section, with the added problem of points being deducted for touching the bunting. Some extra side support in the form of fellow teammates was needed in order to prevent the landies from leaning too much and touching the bunting. After this show of muscle power, we were all convinced that some contestants would be making an appearance in the next strongman competition. Special permission was obtained for the route travelled by the Defender Trophy 2009 and was carefully mapped on the last reconnaissance in January this year. As the convoy progressed through these virtually unseen parts of Transkei, we encountered the odd recovery or two, but nothing a bit of rocking or help from the locals couldn't solve. As we started to head back in the direction of the camp, the excitement of an early afternoon was short-lived, as Gerard had quite a few more surprises up his sleeve, such as balancing a plate of water inside a defender whilst driving over boulders and rocks. Now, what is that old rumour of defenders not being waterproof? One can clearly see the concentration required to balance a full plate of water whilst travelling over such terrain. And what do you know? There was actually some water left in Team Bosvark's plate. Let's take a few seconds to carefully listen how easy Gerard made the next obstacle
Drive
seem.
through the barrier tape, reverse up the hill, against the rear barrier, against the rear barrier. Disconnect the trailer, bring in another car, hook the other car on, drive around, and reverse in here. I'll give you penalties for touching the barrier tape. I'll give you penalties each time you reverse.
Now, sit back and see what it actually took to complete this task many teams failed to accomplish before incurring maximum penalty points. Next up was the towing challenge. The concept is simple. Tow a broken down vehicle through the bush, around some tight turns, and even over some relatively large rocks. Then remove one wheel from the third team member's defender, run around the car, put it back on, and you're done, all against the clock. Sounds simple, but as we will clearly see, doing anything against the clock lets you make seemingly insignificant mistakes, such as placing the air jack just a little too close to the wheel and hence losing precious minutes fixing the problem. Now we all head back to camp for some good old-fashioned tug-of-war. And the winning team proved that having some feminine power would be to their advantage.
That's it!